a dar inicio a nuestra siguiente conferencia de esta Convención de Negocios Proveedor Automotriz 2023, para lo cual es un gusto darle la bienvenida y presentar a nuestra siguiente ponente invitada. Ella es la presidenta y directora ejecutiva de Icti Foundation, una organización independiente sin fines de lucro que opera en mercados B2C y B2B a nivel mundial y que trabaja para proteger y mejorar el bienestar de los trabajadores en la cadena de suministro global de bienes de consumo. Antes de unirse a Icti Foundation, fue CEO de SEDEX durante 5 años, organización que bajo su liderazgo creció hasta convertirse en la mayor empresa de tecnología y servicios que opera en el sector de abastecimiento responsable a nivel mundial. Para compartirnos acerca del interesante tema cómo aprovechar las capacidades en México para satisfacer la demanda de la cadena internacional de suministro, es un honor para este clúster automotriz darle la bienvenida y dejarlos en este evento con Carmen Giblin. Bienvenida, adelante por favor.
Hola, buenos días. Me llamo Carmen Giblin, soy la presidente de Icti Foundation. Lo siento, solo hablo un poquito español. Mi presentación está escrito en español, pero voy a hablar inglés. Lo siento. How do I stick it to? Ah, sí, perfecto. So, thank you very much for inviting me today to share some information on our program, but also some insights into the opportunities that are very present, very immediate for suppliers in Mexico. So the topic of my words is diversifying the supply chain, opportunities in Mexico. Let me start by telling you a little bit about the organization. We are an ESG certification body, so environmental, social, and governance. We work with many, many thousands of companies all over the world, and we are trusted and respected partners for those responsible companies, those companies who are serious about their responsibilities and their commitments to sustainability and all parts of sustainability. We've been operational for nearly 20 years, so 2 decades, and as I said, we work with thousands of companies from major brands, retailers, and also suppliers directly. Our program is actually very collaborative, so we work with industry and government and regulators, consumers. We want the whole part of the supply chain to be engaged in the process. Importantly, and for the automotive industry it may be a little different, but we work a lot with retailers, so global retailers, Walmart, Costco, Target, etc., but also in other sectors. And it's important that the process is accepted by multiple customers. But importantly, we do more than audit. So most companies need to have some form of oversight that gives their customers confidence that they are acting responsibly. But we also want to add value to the companies that we work with. So not just complete an audit, but look at opportunities that we can help companies address the challenges that they may be facing that will help them become more successful. So, just a little bit around the range of programs that we offer. It's important that companies have a range of programs that they can choose from. Many companies we work with will have hundreds of thousands of suppliers in their supply chain. So we work with companies, for example, someone like Lego does a lot of their own production and they may only have 50 suppliers globally. Someone like DHL will have maybe 300 suppliers globally. So you need to have a range of programs that can meet those needs. So to just introduce the key elements, the certification is actually on-site and covers all environmental and social aspects of a factory, a manufacturing plant's performance. It results in a certification that tells your customers that you meet the standard required, the international standards required, and you have no outstanding non-compliances. That's a really important benefit for your customers because they don't have to be following up with you directly to ensure that any issues are closed. In the area of certification, we are looking at all areas. So the safety of the workplace, the wages, the hours, the environmental impacts of production. So that is a very complete process. And it's also important that for the factories that are participating, they are supported to achieve the standards expected. None of us probably took an exam without learning, and it's the same around social compliance and sustainability. We're here to assist companies to make sure they take advantage and they can fully leverage the opportunities that sustainability brings to them. We then have a program called Social Impact Assessment, and that's a lighter touch remote assessment program that is really focusing on the management systems at that business. So it's more about presenting your ESG report, if you like, to customers. It's very, it's easy to complete, it's remote, but it is still verified. So it's still valuable and important assurance for your customers. We have many of you, if you're operating globally, will be aware that there is lots of regulation coming through that is requiring that workers have access to effective grievance mechanisms. And we are one of the only programs that operates an effective grievance mechanism. Our history was very much in the toy industry, but we are now working in multiple sectors: electronics, automotive, other hard good areas, many sectors. But for us, for many years, China was the main area of focus. So we launched our worker helpline in China more than 10 years ago. And it's, as I say, a unique element of our program and the value that we deliver. We then expanded the helpline to Vietnam, and we will launch the helpline in Mexico this year. We also have a whole series of programs that are directly to benefit the workers. Many of you will be facing challenges such as labor shortages, and we do a lot of work to understand why a worker will leave your factory. Obviously, there are lots of reasons. It could be financial, it could be all sorts of things. But actually, when you take those away and we speak to workers directly to understand what motivates them to leave, one of the major reasons was actually related to childcare. So we work with organizations like UNICEF and Save the Children to enable factories and suppliers to access childcare. That, for their workers, is so critically important and a huge benefit. And it increases retention and attraction rates significantly. It also increases, though, the profitability of the business because you are retaining experienced, skilled workers, and you're reducing your costs in training and attraction, and also the cost of rework and quality. So looking at, through our program, looking directly at workers and understanding what they need, apart from the basics of being paid properly, working in a safe environment, how can actually we support them to have a better life through their employment? And we create these programs. Many of them are funded, so it doesn't cost you as a supplier to participate. It's a benefit of being in the program. So we have funding from the United Nations, from people like UNICEF, Save the Children, etc., and companies also. But it's a big benefit. And then the last area is around the environment. I've heard a lot today from various speakers about how important the environment from a sustainability perspective is to the automotive industry. So we have a program that enables companies to share their environmental impacts and importantly enables Scope 3 emissions data reporting really easily. So those are just a brief overview of our programs that we offer. But importantly, why Mexico now? Again, in the previous sessions, we have heard a lot about supply chain diversification. I've been working in risk management and supply chain management for too long, probably nearly 30 years now, so a long time. And there has always been discussions about supply chain diversification, nearshoring, etc. But I have never known them to be so urgent and so immediate. And there is a lot of reasons for that. But I would encourage everyone here to really grasp the immediacy of this opportunity. Supply chains are very transactional sometimes, they're fast moving, and if you don't leverage the opportunities now, the opportunity could pass. So for many companies, and we've heard from other speakers today, nearshoring is a strategic imperative for them, but it's immediate and it's urgent. Some of the reasons around that, the second icon here, talks about specific legislation in the United States of America. It is called the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, and it's a very targeted piece of law focusing on China and specifically the region of Xinjiang, where there are concerns about the treatment of Uyghurs. Uyghurs are an ethnic minority in China, and any product that's coming from that region has a concern that it's been produced with forced labor. Forced labor is a zero tolerance in any country, but America specifically, United States of America specifically, has implemented this piece of regulation, which is active now. What it means for companies is I can ring with no evidence, no proof, and say, I am concerned that this container coming in from China was made with Uyghur workers who were part of a forced labor program. And that container will not be released from the ports in America. That stock will be held. Whether it's cars you're bringing in, whatever it may be, it won't get to the point of sale. That means you can't sell the goods. If the goods aren't in showrooms or on retailer shelves, they can't sell. So this is a really critical, and it's driving the urgency around supply chain diversification. We also see that supply chain stability is really important. We've had two major global events in the last few years that none of us would have expected and probably weren't on any company's risk register. So the global pandemic, coronavirus, everyone then knew from the COVID impact how critically important a strong supply chain was. And having all your suppliers in one location is not a good thing. Also, we have the conflict that's happening in Ukraine that has really paralyzed some activities in Eastern Europe. None of these events were on risk registers because they are total black swan kind of events. But it has reminded everyone of the urgency and importance of diversifying your supply chain. Total costs. Companies are concerned and always looking to reduce costs. The interest from companies that we speak to in Mexico is not because people believe it's cheap labor, which is a good thing because moving just for cheap labor isn't a sustainable approach, but it's the total cost. And again, earlier panels have spoken about this. The cost to ship your goods from Mexico to consumers in the United States is less than shipping them from China to the United States. So it makes sense from a business perspective, but important that it's not about exploiting workers in Mexico, it's about the total costs. And lastly, the environment. Obviously, everyone is very focused, particularly in the automotive industry, around your environmental impacts, carbon emissions, etc. It's a shorter distance to the major consumer market of the United States. So that's why Mexico is so attractive right now. We have never had so many requests to support companies to find new high-quality suppliers in Mexico than we have at the moment. So it is a real time of opportunity. In terms of what the international buyers that we work with are requesting from suppliers, this is important. I think in this room there will be some suppliers who are providing component parts to major automotive brands and other types of industries. So some of you are those perhaps automotive marks, but many of you will be suppliers to those companies. So what are international buyers looking for? And this is the same in any sector: automotive, electronics, apparel, footwear, any sector. What they are looking for is suppliers who meet their ESG requirements. They don't have time to onboard suppliers who are far away from where they need to be in terms of environmental, social, and governance requirements. Ideally, and again I heard this earlier, they want the entire supply chain in the country. It kind of defeats the object of sourcing and manufacturing in Mexico if you're reliant upon all your component parts coming from China. It kind of takes away the benefits. So what companies are really interested in is looking at the entirety of the supply chain and how much manufacturing can be done in the country. Speed and efficiency is critical, especially if you're looking at high kind of fashionable items that move in and out of fashion. China has a really good reputation of being responsive, of being agile. I can draw a sketch of something, send it to one of the factories that we work with in China, and I can have a prototype back with me in a couple of days. You need to be really focused on that kind of efficiency, that urgency. Buyers are really interested in Mexico and in other locations, but for them, customer service is critical. I knew many buyers that moved to India, and India has struggled to meet the customer service expectations. The infrastructure in the country is not as good. It's a different way of working, and they're losing the opportunity. India should be much more attractive and much more leading in terms of a manufacturing hub, but it's not. And that's partly because of the approach to dealing with international buyers. So I've talked about innovation. Again, China has been leading in terms of innovation, of design and development. Buyers are wanting to work with suppliers that add value to their process, that come to them with ideas about how they can help them achieve their corporate objectives, how they can reduce costs, how they can be more innovative. So innovation is really important. And obviously supply chain security. You can't sell what you don't have. So being confident that you're working with a high quality supplier who can get you product, whether that's cars in showrooms or sneakers on shelves, whatever it may be, they need to know that you've got a robust supply chain. So, what do we do at ICF? How do we help international buyers and manufacturers come together to make successful business relationships? So, importantly, we certify the suppliers. When we say we certify suppliers, as I spoke about in the beginning, that is to say that this supplier meets your requirements in terms of labor standards and environmental impact. It is really important that companies have that assurance, and they have it from a third-party, independent, trusted partner. So that's what we do. We provide certification. That is important for companies in their ESG assurance and reporting procedures. Really importantly, we support capacity building. So as I said, not many of us would take an exam or have a driving test or something without having any lessons or any support. And we want you to be successful. If you're a manufacturer, a factory, a supplier, we want you to be successful. So we take time to build a relationship with you. We're different to audit-only programs. We build a relationship with you, we understand your particular challenges, and then find ways to work for them. Nobody, and no responsible buyer, would expect 100% perfection from their suppliers. The environments are too fast moving, but what you want to do is know that the suppliers that you're working with are committed to doing the best that they can and making arrangements and changes to their processes when they fail. So I think everyone, don't be afraid of the questions that maybe your customers are asking you in regard to your performance on social or environmental areas. Be open with them, share the information, because the support is there to help you. And very normally, it should not be a pass or fail approach. Yes, you have to meet a certain standard, but the most important thing is that you're committed to the journey. And we're here to help you on that journey to make sure that you leverage all the opportunities. Importantly, so that's the capacity building that we deliver. We also know that each market, each country, and each sector is different. So we have experts on the ground working with you. We're building our Mexico team right now. We don't want to bring a program that's been really successful in China or really successful in Vietnam or in Poland to Mexico and say, do exactly the same thing. The environment is different, and we treat every location that we work with differently. So we have local resources who can speak Spanish, not like me. So local resources, they understand the regulatory environment here, they understand the legal environment, the culture, and that's really important. So you work with local teams. And the last area is that we really want to have a positive impact for workers. Audits, social compliance audits, environmental audits, can often be criticized as costing a lot of money, but actually for no real benefit. What we want to do is take the data from that audit process, from the engagement with the workers, engagement with suppliers, factory managers, etc., to understand how can we make a more positive impact that benefits everyone in the supply chain, and that your facilities become a workplace of choice for workers. It's a very competitive environment to attract workers and then to retain them. So you want to become the workplace of choice, and actually it's not that difficult to do it, especially when you have access to programs that don't cost you money, such as support from UNICEF to implement childcare. So there's a lot of ways that we can tackle the challenges that come around, such as labour shortages, by focusing on the workers, but also importantly focusing on the business benefits. Just to share a bit of an example, we have operated a childcare program in factories in China. We will have about 50 factories this year that operate childcare facilities in their factory campuses. All of those factories report on increased worker retention rates, easy attraction rates because their workers are advocating their friends, their family members to come and join them. They all report increased profitability and reduced rework required from quality. All of that means that the business is benefiting. So you're having workers benefiting, you're having children benefiting because they're in a safe, secure, fun environment with friends, but the business is benefiting. And also, the business is able to tell their story about what they're doing to support their workers beyond the safe conditions, externally to their customers, to consumers. And that reinforces you becoming a supplier of choice for many companies. So lots of benefits of focusing on the worker. But we're not doing this because it's a nice thing to do or a charitable thing to do or philanthropic. It has to have business benefits to make it sustainable. I just wanted to focus on two programs that I introduced to you earlier. We have the factory certification program, and that is really going into a production facility and completing a quite extensive audit, looking at labour standards and environmental impacts. That program is generally used for tier 1 suppliers. or high-risk suppliers. That's kind of the normal area. So high-risk, tier 1, or very strategically important suppliers. And you can decide what or your customers can decide the frequency of that. The important thing with that area is we work with the companies that are undergoing that process to ensure that any non-compliance areas are fixed, so they're remediated, which means that you are able to share with your customer information that shows you don't have outstanding non-compliances. The second program is our social impact assessment program. This is very different because it's a remote assessment, so no one visits your facility. It's a self-assessment questionnaire that you provide responses to and evidence. It takes a very short time to go through, and we then review it and verify that information, all remotely. This is being used at scale by companies. So when I talked about DHL having hundreds of thousands of suppliers, they implement the social impact assessment program. It helps them to support their suppliers and add value to their suppliers by showing their suppliers where there's opportunities to improve and to really leverage the benefits of doing more around sustainability. Like I say, it's a very low cost, very scalable, and it really just focuses on the management systems approach and capabilities of an organization. I'm going to share with you a slide because I don't know how many of you actually are directly involved in the social compliance areas of your businesses, but a program that you will hear quite a bit about in the auto industry is called EcoVadis. So for any of you who are directly involved in this sort of area for your company, you may have heard of EcoVadis. I just wanted to give you a bit of a comparison so that you can see the areas that we both cover. The main differences being that, so our social impact assessment program and the EcoVadis program are quite similar. Ours is a lower cost, so that's a nice benefit, but in terms of things like actually being able to then go to a site and conduct a full audit if that's a requirement of your customer, then we can do that, confirming that all non-compliances are resolved. So that's an important addition in our program. So I am probably very much ahead of time on this session. I'd encourage you to think about any questions. If you have any questions, then we've got some time and I can answer them. Don't worry about needing to speak in English. I have a colleague from the team who is a Spanish speaker, so she can translate if helpful. But just to conclude, why is ICF an option that you maybe should be considering? So importantly, we work with many of your customers already. We have programs that are very scalable, very sustainable, and we focus on understanding your business. So the programs that we deliver help you meet your requirements or your customers' requirements around due diligence and regulatory. Regulation is everywhere now, and it's increasing. So whether it's the US regulation, whether it's new regulation that's coming out from the EU that was approved, I think, just yesterday. Specifically, then you have country regulation like the German Due Diligence Act. So there's lots of regulation. What I would stress is that this means your customers will be asking more and more and more information from you. And we want to help you be able to provide that information efficiently and effectively. It's a low-cost program. So, for example, the Social Impact Assessment Program is just $650. It's a very low cost. We can provide the in-person audits when that's needed. We can also, like I say, through the local teams that will be on the ground, we support the manufacturers directly, so we can help build capability and capacity at the manufacturing. Technology, obviously, is critical to everyone today, and all of our programs are hosted on a data platform that enables you to do really quick, easy, efficient management reporting. We take a very collaborative approach, so we don't, when we're designing programs, we design them with every part of the supply chain. We don't want to come to a manufacturer, to a factory environment with a program that they cannot implement. So it needs to meet the buyer's needs, but it also needs to be implementable. So that's really important. And the final element is around this access to worker wellbeing programs. Things like our worker helpline, childcare programs, gender equality programs. There's a whole range of them. They've all been developed to scale and support a large number of businesses, and they're available to you all. So that is all my slides. I think we've got some time for questions, if anyone's got any questions. We'll happily share this presentation out through the organisers, and there's my LinkedIn QR code. If anyone wants to get in touch directly, I'm very happy to continue conversations with anyone. So, any questions?
Hello. Do the ICF can help the supplier developers identify process in the industry outside the automotive industry that can merge their product to fit into a productive part inside the vehicle? And if they can help us identify that, how? I don't know if I made clear a question.
So can ICF help you make products for other industries outside of automotive? Is that right?
Yeah, like there are maybe some other industries that are making or some kind of product that is not in a automotive product. So, but they have a process that can lead them to make a productive part for a car.
Absolutely.
So maybe in my region I can find someone who can make that product for my car, but they have the process to make it. So how can I can identify it, or the ICF can help us identify them?
Yeah, absolutely. So a really important part of the ICF kind of community is that it enables companies to find each other. So we have a technology platform that enables you to go in and look at manufacturers, maybe that are doing plastic molding injection, die cast, whatever, and we have, you know, factories who may be producing for the toy industry. They're also producing for automotive. They're producing for electronics. What we want to do is showcase the manufacturers, the suppliers that are in our program, so that the buyers that we work with can quickly go to a supplier that's in the program, already meeting all their standards that they require, and they can start doing business with them straight away. We're actually going to be coming back with the help of Cadenza. We're going to be here in September with like a trade mission of buyers, international buyers, who are looking exactly to the automotive industry to see whether you can meet their manufacturing expectations as well. So I think, yes, definitely something we can assist with.
Thank you.
Todavía hay tiempo para preguntas. Si alguien quiere hacer una pregunta en español, la podemos traducir a inglés con toda confianza. ¿No? Okay.
Excuse me, and thank you, Carmen. Talking about it's something like a certification, as I understand that they started when you started your conference. Is something like a certification, your program?
Yes, so there's a range of programs that we offer, but the core, the main program is certification. So that certifies that the factory meets the international standards required. It's like ISO or any of those. It's a recognized certification.
Okay, because Volkswagen and Cadena and another huge companies needs that we have the DONS number, something like.
Yes. So you have like a certification number. So the other benefit is that often factories have multiple customers in the same industry or the same sector. So a factory may be producing a product, but it sells it to 20 different customers, similar product. The certification is accepted by multiple companies, so that reduces costs and also helps with consistency, because you go through the process and then that can be shared with, you go through the process and it can be shared with many of your customers. So you don't have to go through audits for individual companies. So yes, it gives you a certification that you can put on your wall and that shows that you have achieved the standard required.
Y quisiera yo nada más aclarar, y todos sabemos que pues los grandes OEMs, ya sea automotriz o no automotriz, nos piden uno de los 4 requerimientos, bueno, aparte de tu sistema de calidad ISO 9000, HNS, la parte de seguridad como CityPad, otro de los elementos que nos pide es Social Responsibility. Entonces, esta es una opción de certificación que Carmil, ella viene ahorita de Londres, pero está haciendo algo específico para apoyar el nearshoring y la parte del boom económico que estamos teniendo en México. Normalmente las certificaciones son muy extensas y complicadas. Ellos están haciendo un checklist light, pero básico, que cumple con lo mínimo que tenemos que llevar. Entonces, pues hay que aprovechar estas oportunidades y con eso nos abrimos las puertas al mercado internacional, porque ya dices, ya tengo mi certificado de Social Responsibility. En uno de los slides venía lo que era cero tolerancia, eso es lo que principalmente se enfocan. Si tu OEM o tu cliente te está exigiendo a lo mejor algo más, ella puede ajustar a lo que tu cliente en específico te llegue a pedir, que si quiere que revise alguna otra cosa. Pero esta es una forma de obtener el Social Responsibility Certification lo más rápido posible, que es lo que ahorita necesitamos en México. ¿Sí? Entonces, pues los que quieran información, pues aquí está el equipo, ¿verdad? Podemos ahí en la área de B2B platicar un poco. Y no sé si alguien más tenga alguna otra pregunta. Puede ser en español, traducimos. Bueno, listo.
Muchas gracias. Please get in touch if you would like to discuss anything more, but muchas gracias. Adiós.